ॐ विश्वन्दर्पणदृश्यमाननगरी तुल्यन्निजान्तर्गतम् पश्यन्नात्मनि मायया बहिर्गोचरितं यथा निद्रया यः साक्षात् कुरुते प्रबोधसमये स्वात्मानमेवाद्वयम् तस्मै श्रीगुरुमूर्तये नम इदं श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तन्तोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यान् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः परब्रह्मनिष्ठं स्वतो धर्मनिष्ठम् अहिंसैकनिष्ठं स्वशिष्यै सुजुष्टं यतीनां वरिष्ठं गुरूणां गरिष्ठं दयानन्दरूपं मदाचार्यमीडे नमः श्रीपरमार्थाय संसाराध्यासनाशिने श्रोत्रियब्रह्मनिष्ठाय तस्मै ब्रह्मविदे नमः सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् ॐ तपोभिः क्षीणपापानां शान्तानां वीतरागिणां मुमुक्षूणामपेक्ष्योऽयम् आत्मबोधो विधीयते. I welcome you all to the 11th class of the Atma Bodha series. We will read verses 17, 18 and 19 that we covered in the last class. Sada sarvagatopyatma
सदा सर्वगतोऽप्यात्मा
न सर्वत्रावभासते
न सर्वत्रावभासते
बुद्धावेवावभासेत
बुद्धावेवावभासेत
स्वच्छेषु प्रतिबिम्बवत्
स्वच्छेषु प्रतिबिम्बवत्
देहेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धि
देहेन्द्रियमनोबुद्धि
प्रकृतिभ्यो विलक्षणम्
प्रकृतिभ्यो विलक्षणम्
तद्वृत्तिः साक्षिणं विद्यात्
तद्वृत्तिसाक्षिणं विद्यात्
आत्मानं राजवत्सदा
आत्मानं राजवत्सदा
व्यापृतेष्विन्द्रियेष्वात्मा
व्यापृतेष्विन्द्रियेष्वात्मा
व्यापारी वा विवेकिनाम्
व्यापारी वा विवेकिनाम्
दृश्यते भ्रेषु धावत्सु
दृश्यते भ्रेषु धावत्सु
धावन्निव यथा शशी
धावन्निव यथा शशी.
Before the world came into being, Brahman, the limitless consciousness, alone was there. Ekam eva advitiyam. Changeless, all-pervading, imperishable, limitless consciousness. And there is a second factor that is not really a second factor, which is Maya, which is the entire Jagat in an unmanifest form. Brahman, in association with Maya, brings out the entire Jagat. And the entire Jagat is purely Nama and Rupa. Unmanifest Nama Rupa of the Jagat is Maya. Manifest Maya in the form of Jagat, Nama Rupa, is what we call Jagat. Maya is the Parinami Upadana Karanam, the changing material cause, whereas Brahman is the Vivarta Upadana Karanam, the changeless material cause. Like Atma Bodha said, worlds emerge like bubbles in the ocean, and beings emerge like ornaments from gold. The emphasis is that there is no new substance that is created. What is created is only Nama Rupas. Creation is only creation of Nama Rupas. Then this limitless, all-pervading consciousness gets as though enclosed in all the upadhis of the various beings, just as space gets as though enclosed in different pots. And then we talk about multiplicity of spaces associated with different nama rupas. Similarly, now we talk about multiplicity of consciousnesses associated with different nama rupas. So this jiva is essentially Brahman, because the consciousness that is enclosed within this body, seemingly enclosed within this body, which I refer to as this I, that is really Brahman. In fact, the entry of Brahman, the seeming entry of Brahman into this upadhi of the jiva is called anupravesha. Brahman as though enters sukshma sthula shariras. Anupravesha. So Brahman gets as though enclosed, but then the avarana shakti of Maya comes in and it covers the real nature of Brahman. Therefore, the jiva now has the samanya jnanam that I am, but doesn't have the vishesha jnanam that I am Brahman. So the samanya jnanam is there, vishesha jnanam is not there. It is the ideal condition for a mistake. And therefore, the jiva throws upon himself all these limitations of the upadhis and says, I am the body, I am the mind. The Atma gets mixed up with the Anatma. So this jiva is in a terribly mixed up condition now. Instead of saying, I am Brahman, he is now he doesn't even know there is something called Brahman, and he is only talking about I being the body and the mind. So in this situation, the jiva is struggling, as we said, apurnatvam. So ajnanam, adhyasa, apurnatvam, samsaraha. The jiva is a samsari, struggling in this world. So when the jiva goes to the guru, say, I am struggling, please help me. And the guru were to directly tell him, you are Brahman. Then the jiva will argue, saying that how can I be this Jagat Karanam that you're talking about? How can I be Brahman? That's impossible. I am this body. The jiva, like in a courtroom, the two sides are arguing the case. The jiva argues, saying that I am a jiva. So in this terribly mixed up condition, the jiva cannot appreciate the fact that I am Brahman. And that's why we say that the first step is Atma Anatma Viveka. Of course, this needs to come after Chitta Shuddhi. The first step is to go through Karma Yoga, Upasana Yoga, gain Chitta Shuddhi. But after gaining Chitta Shuddhi, the first thing once one comes to Jnana Yoga, Atma Anatma Viveka. One has to relatively sort this mix-up before one can appreciate the fact that this Atma even possibly can be Brahman, that I can be Brahman. Even before the possibility arises, the mix-up has to be sorted out. And therefore, Bhagavad Pada is talking about this Atma Anatma Viveka. And as we said, that the Satyam Brahma and the Mithya Anatma, the Satyam Atma and the Mithya Anatma can never really be mixed up because they belong to two different orders of reality. There cannot be a relationship between two things in two different orders of reality. Like this waker who's dreaming can never get married to the girl he sees in his dream. Any relationship is impossible. But still the jiva has managed to do the mix-up because of ignorance. It's all because of ignorance. And therefore, the separation is not a physical separation. There is no need to physically separate the two because the two are not really mixed up at all. The mix-up has been in the mind, in the understanding of the jiva. So since the understanding of the jiva is mixed up, the understanding of the jiva has to be corrected. And therefore, this separation, this Atma Anatma Viveka, is done with yukti. Yukti avaghatataha. With blows of yukti, Atma is separated from Anatma. Just like I cannot physically separate the moon's light from the moon, I have to understand that the moonlight is really the sunlight, which is an independent principle. Similarly, I have to understand that this Atma, this consciousness, is an independent principle. It is not a part, product, or property of the body mind. It is an independent principle that pervades the body mind. And then we come to the third feature of consciousness. Consciousness is not limited by the boundaries of the body mind. Just like this enclosed space, so-called enclosed space, is not really limited by the boundaries of the pot. This is what is being talked about in verse 17. Sada sarvagataha atma. Atma is all-pervading, not limited by the boundaries of the body mind. So like we said, the liver is inside me. I talk about liver being inside the body. And I talk about this desk being outside the body. So there are things I talk about inside the body and outside the body. But like we said, it is impossible, it is important to think about this in the dream. In the dream, this person is saying the liver is inside my body and this desk is outside my body. But when he says that, the waker is the adhishthanam for the liver that is inside the body, as well as the adhishthanam for the desk that is outside the body. So the waker is the being the adhishthanam pervades the entire dream. Similarly, Atma being the adhishthanam, being in fact really Brahman, which is the adhishthanam of the entire Jagat. So it pervades everything that I call inside as well as everything that I call outside. So then, why is everything not conscious? That's why he says, Sada sarvagataha api atma na sarvatra bhasate. The consciousness is not experienced everywhere because it requires a certain medium for it to express. Like we said, that when water comes in contact with fire, the heat of the fire alone is borrowed by the water, the light is not borrowed by the water. When sand is heated, again heat of the fire is borrowed by the sand, but the light of the fire is not borrowed by the sand. But when I heat and when an iron ball, then the iron ball is capable of borrowing both the heat as well as the light of the fire. Similarly, Atma is of the nature of Sat and Chit. the nature of existence and consciousness. So the existence aspect of Atma is borrowed by every upadhi, every nama rupa that is there. I say, if something is, the desk is, the wall is, then I'm really talking about the existence of Atma being manifest through that nama rupa in the form of this isness. But the consciousness aspect is not manifest in these inert objects like a desk or a wall. But when I say this ant is, this lizard is, this human being is, not only is the existence aspect manifest, but I can also add is conscious, because the consciousness aspect of Atma is also manifest in these upadhis. Therefore, buddhau eva avabhaseta. It requires a certain upadhi for the consciousness to manifest, even though it is all pervading. And it manifests wherever there is a sukshma sharira. Then we saw verse 18, where Bhagavad is highlighting the first two features of consciousness. Consciousness is not a part, product, or property of any object, and consciousness is an independent principle that pervades every object. So, Dehendriya Manobuddhi Prakritibhyo Vilakshanam. Vilakshanam, Bhagavad uses term. It's of opposite nature. Opposite to what? Opposite to all these anatmas, deha, indriya, mano, buddhi. We saw the five features of anatma. Drishyatvam, bhautikatvam, sagunatvam, savikaratvam, agamapayatvam. Drishyatvam, it is seen. Bhautikatvam, it is made of elements and elementals. Sagunatvam, it has got Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha attributes. Savikaratvam, it is changing. And Agama Paitvam, it comes and goes. This Deha also comes and goes in the different avasthas. Jagrat, Swapna, and Sushupti avasthas, these Dehas come and go. They are Agama Pai. But Atma is of the opposite nature. It is never the seen, it is always the drik. Therefore, it doesn't have drishyatva. It doesn't have bhautikatvam, because it is not a product made of elements and elementals. It is not a product of the sukshma panchabhuta, the sthula panchabhuta. It is nirgunam, therefore it doesn't have sagunatvam. It is attributeless. It is changeless, therefore it doesn't have savikaratvam. And it is anagama pai, it never comes and goes. Even in the three avasthas, the Atma is always there. The bodies come and go. The Atma never comes and goes. It's vilakshanam. So how should I know this Atma? Tadvritti sakshinam vidya. So all of these bodies, the Sharira Trayam, they have their own functions. The sense organs have their functions. Buddhi, Manas have their functions. Atma is the witness of those functions. It is the Sakshi, the Drik. Therefore, when I negate all that which is the Drishyam, then finally what I am left with is the Drik, non-negatable Drik that I cannot negate is left behind. And how do I experience this Drik? We say that the Drik is Drigeva natu drishyate. It is never the seen, it is ever the seer. It can never be experienced as an object, for it is ever the subject. So then how do I experience the subject, if one asks this? We say that it doesn't make sense to talk about experiencing the subject, because the subject is not the experienced, but it is the experiencer. Therefore, it is not necessary to know the subject. It is not possible to know the subject as an object. And it is not necessary to know the subject as an object either. Because the subject is self-evident. Swayam prakashate hyatma. I know that I am before I know any object. I don't need to know myself as an object to know that I am. In fact, I am the one who knows everything as an object. Therefore, I am is self-evident. Then, when this body, mind, senses engage in their different activities, Vyapari Iva Avivekinam, Atma is taken to be a Vyapari, Atma is taken to be the actor. So this is a superimposition and adhyasa again. Just like the child sees the clouds moving in front of the moon, and the child says the moon is moving. Similarly, one who is an aviveki, one who has mixed up the Atma and Anatma, he talks about I am doing this, I am doing that, I am seeing, I am hearing, I am tasting, etc. All of these, all of these belong to the body, mind, and senses, not to the Atma. With this, we will go to the next verse. Verse number 20. Atmachaitanyamashritya
आत्मचैतन्यम् आश्रित्य
देहेन्द्रियमनोधियः
देहेन्द्रियमनोधियः
स्वक्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्ते
स्वक्रियार्थेषु वर्तन्ते
सूर्यालोकं यथा जनाः.
सूर्यालोकं यथा जनाः.
Here, in the last verse, we had said that consciousness is changeless, and all of these activities, they belong to the body, mind, and senses. Then somebody may raise an objection that why should I accept a separate consciousness at all? Why not just say that it is the body, mind, senses, etc. are acting and be done with it? Why do you want to accept this consciousness that plays no role? Right? This is what the Charvakas think. Charvakas are our ingrown, homegrown materialists. So they say that there's no Atma at all, no necessity for talking about an Atma. It's just this body, mind, it lives one life and it goes, that's it. So here we say that Atma doesn't get involved in all the activities of the body, mind, senses, etc. But the Atma is essential for the body, mind, senses to engage in their activities. For example, if we take the movie, example of a movie. In the movie, there are different people playing different roles. Like there is a hero, there is a heroine, there is a villain, then there are others in the family. They are all playing their different roles. But what about the screen? The screen is changeless. And the screen doesn't do any activity. So, for example, the screen is not any of the characters in the movie. The screen doesn't come and sing and dance in the movie. The screen doesn't get involved in some fight scenes in the movie. So here we say, we don't say, now, no, there's a very important scene. See, the screen is going to come in the movie and then it is going to do something special. So just watch this movie. Screen never appears in the movie. So one may say that the screen doesn't get involved in anything. It doesn't play any role at all. So the screen is useless. Let's remove the screen. Why do we need the screen? So without the screen, there cannot be any movie at all. The projector is there projecting the light from the film. And let's say there's nothing to obstruct that light. A screen is something that is an obstruction where the light gets reflected. So if we remove the screen, are we going to be able to see anything at all? There is no movie. So we say that the Atma is very similar. The Atma doesn't get involved in the various activities, and without the Atma, none of these activities can happen. The body, mind, senses, dehendriya, manodhiya, all of these, they depend upon Atma for their very existence. Because they are mithya. As I said, they are just nama rupas, they cannot exist without the adhishthana. And as we have said, they are jada padartha. They don't have any inherent consciousness. And therefore, they have to borrow existence. And they also have to borrow consciousness from Atma. That's what makes them sentient. So the Atma has to light up the mind first. Sukshma Shariram, like we said, Buddhau eva avabhaseta. This consciousness has to manifest. And it manifests in the Sukshma Sharira first. And then the mind lights up the senses. And when we say lights up, we are using a figurative phrase here, but it really means it lends consciousness. Atma lends consciousness to the mind. The mind lends consciousness to the senses. And then the senses light up the world. The senses, the thought form, the vritti, the mind goes out through the senses, get associated with objects. And that is what lights up the object. So here we have seen this example before. It's a slightly different variant of the example. Let's say it's all very dark outside, pitch dark outside, Amavasya night, no moon. And then there is a room. And the room, inside the room, there's a person, and then there is a small window. This person looks through the window, and it's pitch darkness outside. He cannot see anything at all. Then he switches on a light, which is above him, next to the window. So now the room is lighted up, but what is outside is still pitch dark. Then he takes a mirror, and now he places the mirror next to the window, so that the light falls on the mirror. And then there's a patch of light from the mirror. Since the mirror is now lighted up with this reflected light, he can now direct this mirror to different places outside the window. And wherever the patch of light from the mirror falls, that object is lighted. We say the setup here is very similar. What is outside is pitch dark, meaning that it is all anatma, jadavastu. It cannot make its presence known by itself, because it's all covered by a veil of ignorance, darkness like ignorance. Whereas the Atma is like the light which is self-revealing. Then I have taken the mirror, and the window is like my sense organ, which connects with the outside world. And the mirror is like the mind. So once the mind gets illumined by the Atma, then it goes out through the sense organ, and in association with objects outside, it illumines them. So now let's imagine that this person switches off the light. Atma has no role to play, right? It's a mirror that is doing all the activity. Let's switch off the light. So he switches off the light. And now he takes the mirror and tries to move it around. Can he see anything at all? It will remain pitch dark. So this is exactly what is going on here also. The Atma lights up the mind lights up the sense organs and goes out through the sense organs, comes in contact with the objects and lights up the objects that we see. That's why in Kena Upanishad, there's a discussion that says what is it that makes all of these organs engage in their respective functions. Kena Upanishad says, Shrotrasya Shrotram, Manaso Manoyat, Vacho Havacham, Sau Pranasya Pranaha, Chakshushash Chakshuhu, Atimuchya Dhiraha, Pretyasmat Lokad, Amritaha Bhavanti. So Shrotrasya Shrotram, it is the ear of the ear. Manaso Manoyat, it is the mind of the mind. Vacho Havacham, it is the speech of the speech. Pranasya Pranaha, it is the prana of the prana. Chakshushas Chakshuhu, it is the eye of the eye. So what does it mean, eye of the eye? It means it is something that is different from the eye. It pervades the eye and makes the eye an eye, makes the eye function like an eye. Just like the light is different from the mirror and it pervades the mirror and makes the mirror do its job of illuminating everything else. And it's the ear of the ear, meaning it is different from the ear. It pervades the ear and makes the ear work like an ear. So all of these, it is different from each of the individual organs. Deha, Indriya, Mano, Buddhi, it is different from this, like we have seen, it's Vilakshan. It's different, but it pervades everything and makes every organ do its function. And it is one. The organs are many, but this consciousness is one. So Dehendriya Manodhiyaha Atma Chaitanyam Ashritya, meaning they depend upon Atma for doing their respective functions. Swakriyartheshu Vartante means Swakriyartheshu Pravartante. They engage in their respective functions. So for example, you can take the example of electricity also. So electricity is different from any of the gadgets or instruments. Like here in this room itself, we have this camera, we have a light, we have a fan that is rotating. So electricity is different from each of the gadgets. But electricity pervades each of the gadgets. Now, does electricity itself do the function of each of the gadgets? Not really, because the function of each gadget is different. The camera is capturing the light of what is going on here. The light is illuminating this place. The fan is rotating and blowing air. The function of each gadget is different. We cannot say it is the function of electricity. We cannot say the electricity is active in the sense of each of these devices. The microphone is capturing sounds. So all of these gadgets do their functions in the presence of electricity, but electricity is different from each of them. Electricity pervades each of them, and electricity makes each of these gadgets do their respective functions. Similarly, Atma is different from Dehendriya Mano Buddhi. Atma pervades Dehendriya Mano Buddhi, provides existence to them, and makes each of them do their respective functions. Swakriyartheshu pravartante. And like Atma Bodha has an example in every verse, here too Bhagavad Pada gives the example, Yatha Janaha Surya Lokam Swakriyartheshu Vartante. Yatha Janaha, just like people, Surya Lokam, in the presence of sunlight, Suryasya Halokam, Suryasya Prakashaha, Suryasya Prakasham. So in the presence of sunlight, everybody does their jobs. So before the sun rises, everyone is sleeping. And at the break of dawn, even as the sun is rising, people get up. The flower market, for example, you take the markets in uh, in any place. There are vegetable markets, fruit markets, flower markets. So all of these markets start to buzz with activity. The fruit vendor takes his cart and goes to the market, loads his cart, and then starts his walk around the town to sell the fruits. The flower distributors take the flowers from the flower market and deliver it to the different vendors who then start selling all of this. The ladies come out of the house and they start sprinkling water. And then they clean the place, sprinkle water, and then start drawing all these columns, etc. So all of these activities people start to do in the presence of sunlight. Without sunlight, the lady can't even see anything in order to draw the column. So the presence of sunlight is essential for her to do her activity. Whether it's sunlight itself doing this activity, no. In the presence of sunlight, all of these different people are engaging in their different activities. Similarly, in the presence of this one Atma, all of these organs do their respective activity. These days, we also have a modern example. If Bhagavad Pada had this example, he might have given it also in Atma Bodha. We have these solar powered toys these days. And in fact, people put some of these in the car in the front also. And we too have one of these that we put next to the window. And it's an elephant with wings. I don't know why they made an elephant with wings, but it's a small toy. And it's solar powered. So when we keep it next to the window, it starts flapping its wings. And it keeps doing this as long as the sun is there. Once the sun goes, it stops. So here, again, the sunlight is just in the presence of sunlight, it is doing its job. But is the sunlight itself doing it? We say no. Sunlight doesn't get engaged in this activity. Vyapari iva drishyate, but it is not a vyapari. So this, we'll go to the next verse. So this verse has a slightly odd meter. So it is not very appropriate to break it as we usually do at the end of the quarter. What we'll do is we'll read the whole line, right, in one shot, and then we will read the next line. Dehendriya gunan karmanyamale satchidatmani
देहेन्द्रियगुणान् कर्माण्यमले सच्चिदात्मनि
adhyasyantyaviveken gagane nilataadivat.
अध्यस्यन्त्यविवेकेन गगने नीलतादिवत्.
So if you were to split the sandhi, this looks like Dehendriya Gunan Karmani Amale Satchidatmani Adhyasyanti Avivekena Gagane Nilatadivat. So if you were to read it as Dehendriya Gunan Karmani Amale Satchidatmani, sounds a bit odd. And we have to look at the chandas of it. There's sometimes there are some verses in texts that don't strictly adhere to the anushtup. We have to look at it whether this is one of those. But some of our acharyas, they just read the whole line in one shot to avoid this problem. So Amale Satchidatmani. This Atma is Amala. Amala means Nirmala. It is Shuddha Swarupam, like we said, Shuddhatma. It is being said again. Shuddhatma, the same as Amala Atma, Nirmala Atma. So Amale Satchidatmani, in this Atma, that is of the nature of Sat and Chit. Dehendriya Gunan Karmani Adhyasyanti. Adhyasyanti, they are superimposed. What are superimposed? Dehendriya Gunan Karmani, the attributes of the body, mind, and senses, like the fatness, tallness, the birth, death, etc. Birth, growth, decay, death. All of these are attributes of the body, mind, senses. Happiness, sadness, again, attributes. When we talk about happiness in this context, it's always happiness that comes and goes, the experiential happiness. We should always remember that. So all of these can be said to be attributes of the body, mind, and senses. Or even speaking, walking, talking, etc. So they are all superimposed. Why are they superimposed? Avivekena. Because they are the mix-up. Because one doesn't know that I am Brahman. One doesn't have the Vishesha Jnanam of who I am, and therefore mixes up the I am with Anatma. Avivekena adhyasyanti. And as we have said, that it is not an unreasonable mistake. It is a reasonable mistake. That, for example, somebody mistakes the snake, mistakes the rope to be a snake. It is a reasonable mistake. So similarly, this is also a reasonable mistake. When one doesn't know the adhishthanam, one invariably makes the mistake. So the satyam is right where the mithya is. In fact, the tika, it says atyanta samipyat. There is extremely a close association, if you may use the word association, between Atma and Anatma. There is no real association actually. But since the Atma pervades everything, and the Anatma is also right there, Atma is right there, mix up is happens due to ignorance. So avivekena. So dehendriya gunan karmani adhyasyanti. So adhyasyanti means adhyasam kurvanti. They do the adhyasa. Now we have seen adhyasa is mistaking one thing for another. But we have never seen the formal definition of adhyasa. And I thought this will be a good place to introduce that. The adhyasa is defined as atasmin tad buddhi. Atasmin tad buddhi. Atasmin tad buddhi adhyasa. What does this mean? Tasmin is the seventh vibhakti of the word tad. It means in that, in that. Atasmin means in not that. Right? Atad means not that. So atasmin means in not that. That's tad buddhi, seeing that. So in not that, I see that. That is what is adhyasa. So in the not snake, I see the snake. Basically, in the rope, I see the snake. So in the not snake, I see the snake. It's a mistake. I'm seeing the snake, but it is really not a snake. Or in the not silver, I see the silver. Like we said, Shuktikayam Rajatadi Adhyas. So in the not silver, meaning in the shell, I see the silver. It's a mistake. Similarly, here, in something that is not the body, mind, senses. I see the body, mind, senses. So in this I is not the body, mind, senses, it's Atma. The I means Atma. In this Atma I, which is not the body, mind, senses, I see the body, mind, senses and their attributes. This is Adhyasa. So we wrongly transfer an association with the body, mind, senses and its attributes. We throw all this upon the Atma. So you can talk about two levels of Adhyasa. First Adhyasa is seeing the snake in the not snake, right? So in the rope, seeing the snake. That is the first Adhyasa. The second Adhyasa is seeing the attributes of the snake in the not snake. First I say this is a snake. And then I say this is a striped snake. The attributes of the snake are also transferred to the rope. So here, now what he's talking about, Bhagavad is saying, Dehendriya Gunan Karmani Amale Satchidatmani. So I am transferring the attributes of the Deha, Indriya, the Gunan. Gunan means the attributes. I'm transferring the attributes of the body, mind, and its activities. The attributes and the activities belong to the body, mind, but I'm transferring those to the Atma. Saying that I am young, I am old, I am male, I am female, or I am blind. I'm not able to hear properly. Now I am hearing properly. I'm not able to see properly. Now I am seeing properly. So all of these activities are also there. Attributes and activities of the body, mind, senses are thrown upon the Atma. So this is a source of a lot of complexes also, like we said, a source of a lot of apurnatvam. For example, somebody may have a complex about not having hair. So the head is bald. And he feels, I am bald. Or sometimes even having hair is a problem. And he's trying to get the hair removed or shortened or cut in a certain way. So complexes arising out of attributes of the body mind. Or there is, in fact, there are entire industries that cash in on all these complexes. I don't know if these things are there, but once when I was walking somewhere in the US, I saw that there was a toenail salon. A toenail salon. And I was wondering why people needed something like that. But I assume that there can be a complex because of toenails also. That's why there are segments of these there are shops catering to these. So and there is also this thing about the nose not being okay or cheeks not being okay, and people actually get some plastic surgeries done to alter how they look. Again, all of this is because I am not okay with what is there. That is because I've thrown the attributes of the body and mind upon myself, the Atma. So for a Jnani who understands the nature of the Atma, the attributes of the body, mind, whatever they are, it is never a problem. never a source of any complex, never a source of apurnatvam, because the jnani is independently fulfilled. Like we have the example of Ashtavakra. Ashtavakra had 8 bends in his body. He was a jnani. He was moving around, teaching people. But such a jnani never has a complex because of the body. That I am, see, not good enough because I have this problem. The problem is a body's problem. Whatever shortcoming is a body's shortcoming. The Atma has got no relationship with the body, really speaking. This being Satyam, as we have said, there is no relationship with Mithya. This relationship is created because of Ajnanam. The association is created because of Ajnanam, and then the attributes of the body mind are thrown upon the Atma. So, if everybody became Jnanis, a lot of industries will have to close down. A lot of businesses would go bankrupt. But I suppose that they don't have to fear. That is the last fear on their minds, because the nature of the Jagat is such that the Jnanis are always in a very minuscule minority of the population. So these industries will keep thriving. As long as the Srishti is there, such industries will also be there. People will be there with these demands, and whenever there is a demand there somebody has to supply. These shops will continue to be there. So Swamiji gives the example of an elephant. So this elephant caretaker, he does a very he takes a lot of time to clean up the elephant. He rubs the elephant's body all over the place and cleans it up. And then the first thing the elephant does after the bath is it goes and then it throws mud upon itself. So I don't know what the elephant caretakers feel about this, but the elephant is very happy doing it. And the reason is apparently that this throwing the mud upon its own body, it helps it regulate its temperature. The elephant is gaining something by doing this. And this human being is throwing the mud of all these limitations of the body, mind, and its attributes upon himself due to ignorance. And in this process, the human being is undergoing the biggest loss that is possible. See that all of these in profit and loss statement in the earnings call of different companies, they talk about profit and loss, and all of these analysts say that this company has taken a huge hit. It has undergone a loss of so much, etc. Right? And what we say is this loss, because of this superimposition, is the biggest loss that is ever possible. Because it is a loss of the infinite. The Atma is limitless. Atma is limitless. Has absolutely no limitation whatsoever. If there is one thing that can be said to be infinite, it is the Atma, it is Brahman. No limitation whatsoever. The human being throws this mud upon himself like the elephant. The elephant had something to gain, but the human being is taking the biggest loss that is ever possible, the loss of the infinite. So Dehendriya Gunan Karmani Adhyasyanti. Amale Satchidatmani, upon this Atma that is Nirmal. So somebody may ask this question, that why are you saying so? Why can't this transference, right? Be there, some transference be there through association. For example, we talk about how important association is, how important company is. So we emphasize the need for satsanga, the company of the good, the company of the wise. Because the satsanga, in the presence of satsanga, gradually those who are in the satsanga also, they begin to get the positive attributes. Similarly, dussanga is also in bad company. A person can get a lot of bad habits. And then there is also this proverb that one bad apple spoils the other apples around. Why can't the Atma be like that? Because this body mind has attributes, and Atma, as we said, is intimately, wherever the body mind is, Atma is also there, intimately associated. Present wherever these limitations are, the Atma is there. Why can't the Atma also really have these attributes? So we say that it is impossible. The Atma is Satyam and everything else is Mithya. Therefore, the Atma is like the space. It is Asangaha. There cannot be any real transfer to the Atma at all. Here we are talking about a transfer across orders of reality, and such a transfer is impossible. Mithya attributes can never touch the Satya. So it is only because of ignorance that the superimposition and the transfer of the attributes of the superimposed to the adhishthanam, all of this is happening because of ignorance alone. And Bhagavad Pada gives the example, Gagane Nilatadivat, like space. Now space, we look at the space up there, and then we say that the sky is blue. The sky is just another name for space. So a child looks up there and says that the sky is blue, meaning that the space up there is blue. Now space inherently can never be colored, just like this colorless crystal. Space has got only one attribute, we say. That is the attribute of Shabdaha, the attribute of sound. It has no other attributes. Shabdaha, Sparshaha, Rupaha, Rasaha, Gandhaha. These are the attributes. So Rupaha, or these colors and forms, is not there in space. But still we say that this is colored. This is again because of ignorance. What is really happening is in the atmosphere there are dust particles. And the light falls, sunlight falls upon the dust particles and gets scattered. And for some reason, the blue light, I think it is the shortest wavelength light. So it gets scattered a lot more because of the dust. And therefore, this blueness really belongs to light, and you can say because of the presence of the dust. So it belongs to the light and to the dust, never to the space. But then somebody who is ignorant of this phenomenon will look up there and it's an appearance in space, all right. It's an appearance. But then he takes it to be the reality. He says that the space is now color. The attribute of something else has been transferred to something else. Atasmin tad buddhi adhyasa has happened. So similarly, in the Atma, that is really free of all these dehendriya gunan karmani. It's free of all these attributes of the body, mind, and activities of the body, mind. All of these are transferred aviveken because of ignorance upon the Atma. We go to the next verse. Ajnanat manasopadhehe
अज्ञानान् मानसोपाधेः
कर्तृत्वादीनि चात्मनि
कर्तृत्वादीनि चात्मनि
कल्प्यन्ते भुकते चन्द्रे
कल्प्यन्ते भुगते चन्द्रे
चलनादि यथाम्भसः
चलनादि यथाम्भसः
अज्ञानात् मानसोपाधेः. So it's अज्ञानात् मानसोपाधेः becomes अज्ञानान् मानसोपाधेः. कर्तृत्वादीनि च आत्मनि कल्प्यन्ते अम्बुगते चन्द्रे चलनादि यथा अम्भसः. So in these series of shlokas, Bhagavad is focusing on the different types of attributes that get superimposed upon the Atma. Like we said, the stripes of the snake, right? So we are talking about the stripes of the snake now being attributed to the rope. So in the prior shloka, we talked about the activities and the attributes of body, mind, senses. So here now, Bhagavad is talking about the superimposition of kartritvam, bhoktritvam, etc. Kartritvadini. So attributes of doership and enjoyership, etc. that belong to the body, mind, senses. These are also thrown upon the Atma. So manasopadhehe kartritvadini. The doership, kartritva, and there's an adipada there, meaning etc. So we always say that whenever the shloka gets this adipada, etc., we should think about what this etc. means. Right? So kartritva adi means kartritvam, bhoktritvam, doership and enjoyership. So the body and the mind is the doer and enjoyer, karta and bhokta. And the body and mind are therefore being the bhokta, being the enjoyer, they are in the clutches of karma. So they engage in activity and they are the recipients of the fruits of those actions. The karma phalam also, it can only affect the body and mind because it is the bhokta. So all of these kartritvadini, manasopadhehe that belong to the mind upadhi. And Bhagavad is careful here to use the term upadhi. As we have seen in upadhi, what is an upadhi? An upadhi is one which seemingly affects something else which is in proximity. Like the red flower becomes an upadhi that seemingly makes the crystal red, not real. If it really alters something, it becomes a visheshanam. Here it is not a visheshanam, it's an upadhi. So they belong to the upadhi of body mind. Atmani kalpyante, they are thrown upon the Atma. That now I start to say, I am the karta, I am the bhokta. And again, this is a big loss. Because a karta, as we have seen, can never be purna. A karta is always apurna. Because a karta always has a large to-do list. This is what I have to accomplish over the next week, for the next month. And then he checks out those items. He cannot be relaxed until those items are checked out. But even as those items are being checked out, more items are getting added to the list. And a karta always has this limited knowledge and power. The karta is alpagyaha and alpashaktiman. And because he has limited knowledge and power, many of his actions may have shortcomings. Because he cannot take into account all the variables. Sometimes he does an action and then he comes to know something and then he says, maybe I should have done it differently. And even in the exercise of his action, there are limitations. Because he is Alpa Shaktiman. Therefore, the Karta is limited. And always worried about omissions and commissions. For example, if he, because of his limited knowledge, he may omit doing what is right, or he may commit something that is wrong. And therefore, this leads to guilt. Guilt is associated with the Karta. And then the Karta also worried about the outcomes of the actions. All of these are limitations of the Karta that make the Karta apurnaha. Similarly, the Bhokta is also apurnaha. Why? Because there are more and more things to experience in this world. And then somebody plants a desire in my mind, saying, I just went to this place. See, um, some place like Niagara Falls, or some place, there's wildlife parks in Africa. When they plant this desire, then the bhokta becomes restless. He feels he has to now experience that. And then he actually makes plans, he books the tickets and takes a vacation. And then he goes on this trip. Even there's dukkha mishritatvam, as we have seen, dukkha mishritatvam. He has to lug his baggage around. And then he's already got prone to backaches. He's been carrying this heavy bag around, and then his backache is now starting to act. Or then he goes to the hotel, and nothing, no situation is ever perfect. So there are shortcomings where he's staying. And then he has to travel, and then he finds there's a lot of heat there, right? So he feels very tired. And then he has to deal with some outside food that is now upsetting his system. And then he has to take this flight, and then there are delays in the flight. And so there are certainly positives to his trip, but I'm highlighting some of the negatives because this is what brings in the dukkha mishritat. There is no absolute joy in any of this. Always mixed with some sorrow. And then he comes home, and now he has to take 2 days off after the vacation. The vacation after the vacation. And then he eats his home food, and he says that this home food now tastes like amritam. So as they say, east or west, home is the best. So dukkha mishritatvam. So this bhokta can never be purnaha. Always apurna. So now he has thrown this kartritva and bhoktritva upon the Atma. That is absolutely free of all this kartritva and bhoktritva. There is no trace of kartritva and bhoktritva in the Atma. But he has thrown this upon himself like that elephant. Again, loss of the infinite. Because now he has become a karta and bhokta. He has lost his inherent purnatvam. In a manner of saying, he hasn't really lost it, but lost it because of ignorance and mix-up. Why he has lost it? Bhagavad himself says, Ajnana. Due to self-ignorance. Samanya Jnanam is there, Vishesha Jnanam is not there. He has thrown all this upon himself. Actually, in the Bhagavad Gita, there's this shloka that says, Prakrutehe kriyamanani gunaihi karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudhatma kartaham iti manyate. Ahankara vimudhatma karta aham iti manyate. So he begins to say, I am the karta. Why is he saying that? He is ahankara vimudhatma. Vimudhatma means he is deluded. He is deluded by this ahankara. What is the ahankara? Ahankara is mix-up of Atma mixed with any Anatma, is Ahankara. So this mix-up of Atma and Anatma, because of this he is deluded. And he says, I am the Karta. So it is not just the layman, but even the philosophers make this mistake. So if we take the 6 Astika Darshanas, and we have Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa, and Uttara Mimamsa. All of these are called Astika Darshanas because they take the Veda to be a pramana. For each of these, the Veda is a pramana. Then we also have the Nastika Darshanas. They reject the Veda. For them, Veda is not a pramana. Even amongst the Astika Darshanas, we have the Purva Mimamsa philosophers who take the Veda to be a pramana. But according to them, the Veda, even if it gives jnanam, it is only for the purpose of karma. For them, everything is karma-centric. In fact, according to them, there should not be a jnana kanda at all. There should not be a separate Vedanta at all. It should only be the Veda Purva that subsumes everything, and there should only be karma and rituals, nothing else. And even if there is some statement of fact somewhere, that statement of fact has to be connected to some karma or ritual so that one can do something. According to him, only by doing there is prayojana. Just by knowing something, there cannot be any prayojana. For example, you know that there is water. He says, just by knowing there is water, there is no prayojanam. Drink it, only then it quenches your thirst. Similarly, you can attain sukha and remove dukkha only by doing something. Just by knowing something, you can never become free of sukha and dukkha. He is a purva pakshi for Vedanta. Purva pakshi means a philosopher who has got different views. In all of Bhagavad Pada's bhashyas, etc., the Purva Pakshi, the Purva Mimamsaka is a Purva Pakshi who comes in with a lot of opposite ideas. And then Bhagavad Pada refutes what he said. So he said that Veda is only talking about karma and the human being is a karta fundamentally. So he should always keep doing something. Again, he also has made this mistake. He has thrown this kartritvam that belongs to the body, mind, senses upon the Atma, and he says, I am the karta. So according to him, the whole life one should keep doing something. Only by doing one gets the prayojana. So yatha ambugate chandre ambhasaha chalanadi kalpyate. So here again, Bhagavad Pada gives the example. Like this moon is reflected in the waters. Ambugate chandre. Ambu means water. Ambugate chandre. So the moon is reflected in the water, but this water has got some movement. Ambhasaha chalanadi. So the movement of the water. The water is moving, and therefore the reflection of the moon in the water is also it is trembling, vibrating. And now somebody says that the moon is vibrating. Moon is moving. Again, a slightly different variant of the cloud example. Something similar. So the movement of the water is superimposed upon the moon because of ignorance. So similarly, this body-mind-sense complex is there. And in it, the reflection of the Atma, the reflection of the consciousness is there because it has got borrowed consciousness. The body, mind, senses are engaged in activity. They have got kartritvam, all right. But along with it, the reflection of the consciousness is also mixed up. with the body mind sense complex. And therefore, the reflection of the consciousness, the RC, as we saw, the reflected consciousness, that also is associated with the activity. Therefore, one says that I am a karta, I have kartritva. Really speaking, what is this I? It is the original consciousness. Just like the original moon is there, it is unaffected by all this activity, not involved in any of this activity, but this activity and kartritvam are superimposed upon the original consciousness also. Therefore, yet another example of attributes being superimposed. We'll read verse 23 also, because it goes along a similar theme. Ragecha sukha dukkhadi
रागेच्छा सुख दुःखादि
buddhau satyam pravartate
बुद्धौ सत्यां प्रवर्तते
sushuptau nasti tannashe
सुषुप्तौ नास्ति तन्नाशे
tasmat buddhestu natmanah.
तस्मात् बुद्धेस्तु नात्मनः
So raga, ichha, sukha, dukkhadi. Ragecha, sukha, dukkhadi. Buddhau satyam pravartate sushuptau na asti. Tad nashe, tannashe. Tasmat buddhehe tu na atmana. Na atmanah. Tasmat buddhehe tu na atmanah. Now, like this, continuing on the theme of the stripes of the snake being superimposed upon the rope, Bhagavad Pada is talking about raga, ichha, sukha, dukkhadi, a variety of attributes of the mind. So again, I first say that I am this. The Atma is free of all this. But due to ignorance, my first thing I say is I am this body mind. This is the ahankara. Whenever I say I am this, that is the ahankara. And then I say this is mine. So that is the mamakar. This is mine. So through the body, once I get connected with the body saying I am this, then through the body I get connected to my family, possessions, profession. So these are the pancha anatmas, as we have talked about: body, mind, family, possessions, profession. Out of this, two are ahankara related. I am this body, mind. And three are mamakara related. This family, these possessions, this profession, they all belong to me. So now I have gotten associated with the body because of ahankara. Ahankara vimudhatma karta ham iti manyate. So I've gotten associated with the body mind, then the attributes of the body mind, like raga. As we have seen, now that I have this ahankara and mamakara, whatever is conducive to this ahankara and mamakara, body, mind, family, possessions, profession, I consider it as favorable to me. I have liking towards that. I have a raga for that. And whatever is unfavorable to body, mind, family, possessions, profession, I have a dvesha for that. Dislike for. So raga, dvesha. When they say raga, again adipada is there. So we should add dvesha also, etc. So we should add dvesha also. And ichha. Ichha is desire for something I don't possess. Again, an attribute of the body mind, of the mind. Yeah. And sukha, experiential happiness that comes and goes. And dukkha, the sorrow that is experienced. Raga, dvesha, ichha, sukha, dukkha, adi. So again, here it's not just a layman who makes this mistake. Another one of those 6 astika darshanas, the Nyaya Vaisheshika, as we saw. So the Nyaya Vaisheshika philosopher also makes this mistake. He says that all of these are attributes of the Atma. In his system, all of these raga, dvesha, ichcha, sukha, dukkha, etc. are attributes of the Atma, gunas of the dravya that is Atma. So Bhagavad Pada is indirectly refuting the Nyaya Vaisheshika philosopher also here, saying that what you're saying is not right. And here Bhagavad Pada uses what we call is the Anvaya Vyatireka approach. Very important, again, yuktihi in Vedanta. This is another yuktihi or Anvaya Vyatireka approach. So Bhagavad Pada says here, Buddhau Satyam Pravartate. So Buddhau Satyam Pravartate means all of these attributes are there when the Buddhi is there. When is the Buddhi there? Jagrat Swapnayoho. In the two avasthas. So we can add Jagrat Swapnayoho Buddhau Satyam Pravartate. In the two avasthas of Jagrat and Swapna, this Buddhi is manifest. And therefore, we see Raga, Dvesha, Ichcha, Sukha, Dukkha, etc. But Sushuptau Tannashe Nasti. Sushupti avastha, Sushuptau means Saptami of Sushuptihi. In Sushupti avastha, Tannashe means the Buddhi is not there. Not there means it's unmanifest. Nashe means laye. The Tika clarifies this. And Nashaha means laya. And the Buddhi has become unmanifest, goes to the Karana Sharira. So at that time, the Raga, Dvesha, Sukha, Dukkha, etc. are not there. This is the Anvaya Vyatireka method. The Anvaya Vyatireka method means when two things are inseparably related. For example, fire and heat are inseparably related, right? We say that when the fire is, the heat is, right? When the fire is not, the heat is not there. And therefore, we can conclude that fire and heat are inseparably related. This is Anvaya. When the fire is, heat is, this is called Anvaya. Whereas when the fire is not there, the heat is not there, this is called Vyatirek. So in this case, there is no Vyabhichara, meaning that we don't see a Vyabhichara, meaning that it is very clean. The fire is, heat is, the fire is not, heat is not. Therefore, heat is and fire are inseparably related. So if we take this to the Atma, can we say that when the Atma is Raga, Dvesha, Sukha, Dukkha, etc. are there, is there any Vyabhichara in this? Do we notice any Vyabhichara here? Meaning that is there any deviation from this rule that when Atma is, then Raga, Dvesha, Sukha, Dukkha, etc. are always there, invariably there? Is there any deviation? We say there is a deviation. It is not like fire and heat because Atma is there in Sushupti Avastha. In Sushupti Avastha, I am there. Atma is very much there. But then Raga, Dvesha, Sukha, Dukkha, etc. are not there. So we have a deviation from the rule. Atma is there, but Raga, Dvesha, Ichcha, Sukha, Dukkha, etc. are not there. Therefore, this Anvaya Vyatireka, right, is violated. And therefore, we cannot say that Atma and this are invariably connected. There is no example where Atma is not there. Of course, Atma is there at all times. So Vyatireka Drishtanta cannot be given here. But Anvaya breaks down. The Anvaya, in Anvaya we see the Vyabhichar. But when Buddhi is there, in Swapna and Jagrat, the Buddhi is there. Raga, Dvesha, Ichcha, Sukha, Dukkha, etc. are there. In Sushupti, when the Buddhi is not there, then all of these are not there. So with Buddhi, we don't see any Vyabhichara. Therefore, the Buddhi and these attributes are connected. It is not connected to the Atma. So Buddhi Sattve ragadveshadi sattvam, buddhi abhave, ragadveshadi abhavam. Therefore, buddhi and these attributes are connected, not atma. Therefore, tasmat buddhehe, they belong only to the buddhi, not to the atma. So that's why when psychology, right, in psychology, they say that there are problems unresolved from childhood. They are there in the buddhi. In the mind, it is there. Similarly, the Vedanta talks about purva janma samskaras. All of these are there in the mind. And therefore, based on the law of karma, suddenly they can surface, like vasanas can surface. And therefore, due to the law of karma, the mind can go through various moods and emotions, etc. Right? So, as the mind, if one is associated with the mind, then the mind can never be free of these problems. Mind is always apurnaha. Therefore, if one is claims oneself to be the mind has got all of the raga, dvesha, ichcha, sukha, dukkha, etc. So one becomes apurnaha. So Bhagavad Prada clarifies, na atmanaha, these don't belong to the atma. Therefore, see, all of this identification, it makes one go on a roller coaster ride because one becomes that. And one becomes that. That is what we call identification. And whatever happens to that happens to me. Therefore, one has to place each of these gunas in the right places. It's important to place every attribute to the entity to which it belongs. So I recognize all of the attributes that we saw. For example, the doership and the activities of the body mind, raga, dvesha, ichcha, sukha, dukkha, etc. One recognizes these to be the attributes of this body mind senses. I place them as attributes of the body mind senses. I don't throw these attributes upon myself. And by placing these attributes to where they belong, I claim that the Atma, this space-like consciousness that is free of these attributes. I'm free of the limitations of the body-mind senses, the activities of the body-mind senses, free of all this doership, enjoyership, kartritvam, bhoktritvam. I am the asangaha, ever unattached, problem-free Atma. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha Hari Om